So commissioners, as we posted, we will switch to item 8 and take up the City of Austin response to Google's Fiber for Communities request for information to build an ultra-high-speed broadband network in Austin. Okay, thank you all. This is really, really exciting. Here's how I'm anticipating we're going to proceed tonight. This is a public forum, and we're taking this in 2 pieces. In the first piece, we have some invited guests to speak to us on this, and so we will go through those. And then in the second part, we will open it up to the public, and we are taking sign-ups, so anybody who is here that wishes to speak on the matter, you can go on the record, and hopefully the city will capture your comments, and we'll find a way to incorporate that into the city response. In between those two, I'd like to offer the commissioners a chance if you'd like to make any comments or statements on the project. We will not be taking action on this item. We're only posted for discussion because frankly, there's no action for us to take. You know, city council's already on it, city staff are already on it. You know, there's no action, no recommendation we can take. But I think it's beneficial if we as individual commissioners might choose to go on the record if we'd like. So that sound good to everybody?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, so then let us proceed with 8A, the first half of our public forum with the invited presentations. I'll note for the people that weren't here when we adopted the agenda, the list of speakers in our agenda was updated, the people that I have listed. And could you do me a favor, if you're here when I call your name, could you just give me a signal so that I know? I know Rondella Hawkins is here, Chip Rosenthal is here, Dave Porter, I saw you earlier, Joe Falk, you still here, Joe? Yes. Linda Latowski, hi Linda. Tamara Hudgens, hi, thanks. Professor Joe Strobhauer. Okay. If he does show up in the next 10 minutes or so, could someone signal me? Dr. Dan Stanzione? Stanzione? Depends
on who you ask in the family.
What is your preference? And Ed Hennigan? Hi, thank you all. So what I think we're going to do is Ms. Hawkins is going to speak from the podium. I'm going to give a quick demonstration, and rather than get into the formality of speaking from the podium, I'll call you up 3 or 4 at a time just to talk to us from the table, and we'll go in the order that I had mentioned. So Ms. Hawkins is leading us off, and I'll point out that not only is her office our staff liaison for this commission, but they are also the point people on the city's response to the Google RFI. So the people that are actually doing the typing and figuring out what we're going to say are in her office. So thank you very much for briefing us on this.
Thank you. Just for the benefit of the public, or for those who have not heard about Google's network, I want to give you an overview. And last month, Google announced that they wanted to build and construct an ultra-high-speed network, a pilot project in select communities. And this would be a fiber-to-the-home network, 1 gigabit per second, 100 times the speed of typical broadband, just downloading an HD movie in about 5 minutes. They claim that they'll serve estimated between 50,000 and 500,000 households nationwide, and they will offer their service at a competitive price. So this is not free broadband network. They are aiming residential users, not businesses or large anchor institutions. It will be an open network, meaning that all service providers may use it. Google does not intend to provide cable TV or telephone service. They issued a request for information to help in selection of communities, and that application is due March the 26th. Austin, we are a hotbed for a test bed. Austin is consistently on top cities list, from entrepreneurship to quality of life to safety. Forbes magazine tops Austin as in the top wired cities. We are a center for high-tech enterprise and cultural creatives, And the city of Austin, actually back in the 90s, we had a vision to build and construct an open access broadband network. However, that project didn't materialize, and it was primarily due to the passage of state legislation. So we had the vision. We thought it would be a really great right-of-way management tool and an opportunity to promote competitiveness in the telecommunications market. There are two inputs into Google's RFI response. There's the city government form, that's what we are completing. And then there is the community form. That's where individuals and community organizations can nominate Austin. So the city's role is we are doing a lot of outreach to encourage community response, to build community support, and we are completing the application, and we are gathering that input from the community from the biggigaustin.org website, which the chair will walk us through here in a bit, and from other sources. The community's response is going to help Google evaluate what is the demand, what is the potential subscribership for this network. And they want to hear about what are the likeliest killer apps, the next generation killer apps to show off on this high capacity network. So as far as community outreach, what's been done? There was a news conference held yesterday. It kicked off the city seeking the community's help in to nominate Austin, and we launched our biggigaustin.org website, and we're having this public forum tonight. And the website, again, which Chip will go into, it gives background about this project. It tells users how to nominate Austin for selection. It's collecting a lot of ideas for using the network that we would include in our application, and it would also map out the interested users. Also, we are going out on the street, meaning Channel Austin and has volunteered to go out on the streets, and they're interviewing folks, just asking, why Austin for this network, and what would you do if you had this big gig network? And those clips are being uploaded on YouTube, which is linked off of the biggigaustin.org website. And just, South by Southwest is about ready to launch, the Interactive Festival Friday. And there will be a lot of outreach at the festival. And that is the end of my presentation. Do you have any
Okay, I'm going to
questions?
move from here to the podium. Does the vice chair want to take the gavel?
Is Chip Rosenthal in the room? Please step to the podium.
Okay. Is my audio okay? You getting me? Check, check. I think you got me. Okay. So what we are looking at is the biggigaustin.org website. Let me back up a little bit and talk about the Big Gig Austin initiative. Someone has a phone near a microphone. As Ms. Hawkins pointed out, there's a two-pronged response in this program. There's the response of the municipality to the Google RFI, but there's also a community response. I sat in a teleconference earlier today, and the way Google explained it is that they have worked on some of these technology policy issues in the past. They did some wireless stuff out in Mountain View and were very involved in Muni Wireless. And one of the things that they discovered was that for these projects to be a success for them, they needed to have strong community involvement. So the successful city that gets the Google Gigabit fiber network will have not only a strong response from the city, but also a strong response from the community. So the city's doing their stuff, and the idea is that we needed a mechanism for us in the community to step up and do our stuff. And so the Big Gig initiative, the primary sponsors are this commission and the LBJ school over at UT, although we have several other community collaborators that are working with us. For instance, Channel Austin was mentioned. They're doing some great stuff to help move this forward. The focus of this, the central focus is our biggigaustin.org website that I'd like to walk you through. I'd also like to point out if you come back to it in a day or two, it will probably look different because we're just deploying new functionality really quickly. For instance, one of the things that just got added today was this YouTube link. We set up a YouTube account and we're starting to shoot some video, and this is a little bit that was shot today.
Hey Austin, we need your help to convince Google to build their ultra-high-speed internet network in our town. Visit biggigaustin.org to find out how you can show your support.
Yeah, so take that, Duluth. We have Robert Rodriguez. So we're going to be doing some creative things with the video. We'll get those posted, and we're really going to encourage the community to get in and do some crowdsource rating and mashups and stuff. One of the ways that we're really presenting and sharing information is through social networks, both Facebook and Twitter. If you go to biggigaustin.org, if you participate in either one of those, I'd encourage you to join in Facebook or Twitter to keep up to date, but also when you join, you're counted. Our Facebook group in the past week has gone from a couple hundred to I don't know where we are. We were well over 1,000 last I checked. 1,500. It is growing hour by hour. We can do more. You know, I think there are probably more than 10,000 people in Austin that want to get this network, so let's go for 10,000 members of this group. The key thing that we're trying to drive people to is this: nominate Austin. That is going to take you through the process to do your nomination at Google. A couple things that we learned that concern some people: you do need a Google account, so we wanted to disclose that. We also wanted to warn people, although you land on this form and there's a lot of stuff there, most of it is optional, so we didn't want that to scare them off. But hopefully, you know, the one thing we want people to do is to follow through to submit your nomination for Austin. Other applications, we're setting up a mapping application where it's collecting addresses, but with no personal information, just asking, hey, where do you want broadband to be? And at this moment, there are some developers over at the LBJ school trying to mash this up with a Google map, so we'll be able to present a geographic profile of where the interest is in Austin. We're collecting ideas on what people want. There are a couple pages. Some of them are fun. Want to work from home in my pajamas. So you can go there, look at the ideas, submit your own. There's a submission form, and we have some more information. So between this website driving you to take action and the social networks where we're gathering and communicating, those are some of the ways that we're trying to engage the community on this. I'd also like to point out that these cards are around the room. This is just some of the stuff we're doing to try to reach out to the public, let them know biggigaustin.org is happening. If you look at the back, if anybody is at home and has an iPhone, hold it up to your TV screen right now and see if you can capture the QR code. This is our QR code of our website, and if you have the right apps, you can go right to our website using this. So we're going to be all around town out at South by handing those out and stuff. So let's go on to some of our community experts here. At this time, I'd like to call up Dave Porter, Joe Falk, Linda Latowski, Tamara Hudgens. Why don't you all just take a seat at the table and we'll go through, and we'd just like to hear your perspective. One of the things that we're trying to get to today is an understanding of, how do we pitch this to Google to let them know that Austin is the place they need to be to see what wonderful things people will do with a gigabit. Dave, would you like to address that? This is
Sure.
Dave Porter, Senior Vice President, Austin Chamber of Commerce.
Commissioners, thank you for inviting the Chamber to be part of this effort. This is a very important effort for the community. There's approximately 2,500 businesses that belong to the Austin Chamber, representing well over 100,000 employees. We will be sending out through our e-newsletter several opportunities where they can go and sign up to support this project. It's very important. If Google selects Austin, it would solidify Austin's position as a test bed for new ideas, new products, and a center of innovation. Austin is a place where people think out of the box, try new things, develop new products, and are not afraid to experiment with technology. Austin residents and businesses are early adopters. They are known for their innovation and willingness to experiment and try new things with technology. It is a diverse region supporting innovative industries, entrepreneurs, and research. Back in 2004, Richard Florida, an economist, wrote a book called The Rise of the Creative Class. He named Austin as the #1 location in the U.S. for the creative class. That is the worker of the 21st century, a knowledge worker using brain power and creativity to innovate. Austin is young and highly educated. 42% of the city of Austin population has at least a bachelor's degree compared to only 27% nationally. 72% of the city of Austin is under the age of 45. Unfortunately, I don't fall into that category anymore, compared to 62% nationally. Austin has continued to serve as a state and national leader in providing broadband access and supporting the technology community. The state of Texas having some of the lowest broadband connectivity rates in the nation, Austin is already one of the most wired cities in the country. Over 80% of the households in Austin have fixed high-speed connection subscriptions, compared to about 60% in the entire state of Texas. Travis County alone has 16 residential broadband providers, ranking in the top 5 counties in Texas for providers, according to the 2008 FCC data. And then on February 23rd, Time Warner launched their new 4 gig network in Austin. In 2007, Austin was the top blogging city in the nation, ahead of Portland, San Francisco, and Seattle, according to a study by the Scarborough Research Group. According to the study, 15% of adults in Austin are bloggers, either reading or contributing to a blog every 30 seconds. So this Google project, testbed project, will cement Austin as a position as both a national and global center for high technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation, while providing numerous benefits to the community as a whole. The National Broadband Plan in the American Recovery Act identifies numerous areas where broadband supports communities, including education, culture, entertainment, economic development, public safety, homeland security, and communication services for people with disabilities. The Chamber is a proud partner in trying to bring this to Austin, Texas. We feel like this is the ideal location for Google to do this.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Any questions? Okay, next speaker is Joe Falk, Division Manager, Library Information Services of the Austin Public Library. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Chip, and thank you, Commissioners. I do have a little short presentation. If they could bring it up, they should have it.
Yes, please. If you'd prefer to be at the podium, feel
Well,
free.
I just got a couple slides here. I just
Yeah.
want to run through. It's not real long if I can figure out how to use it. Yeah, really do thank y'all, and thank you for thinking of the library.
By the way, I'd like to note for the public that your presentation, Ms. Hawkins' presentation, also a copy of the council resolution and support are posted to the backup area of our website, www.ci.austin.tx.us/telcommission. Then click through to backup, and they'll find your slides there.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. I really do want to thank y'all, and thank you for including the library. That means a lot to us, and we appreciate that. And your leadership in this whole endeavor is really appreciated, and especially for the website. So what does the library think about this? Well, I just want to say what's now. I'm going to go over a little bit of what's now, what's next, and then a little bit of what if. So what's now? Pretty plain Jane. There's, we have 22 different physical buildings all over Austin, and there's contraptions that look very similar to this, and about 400 of them all over. We also have wireless at all of our locations for the library, and it's been very successful service for us, increasing 46,000 wireless internet connections over the last 3 months. Okay, but why do people come to the library? They come because of our content. That's what we are. We are a content provider, which does make this mesh with this Google enterprise very well, because they're all about delivering content better. So what's next? Well, what we are tracking at the library is the devices really is what's going to make a difference, and because of downloadable books and things like that. And the closest thing that I could come to, just to give you a little insight on new devices and technology that sort of is different and allows for things to change, some paradigm shifts in there, is we have a device called a Playaway, and I venture to guess most everybody in here does not know what a Playaway is. But it is an MP3 player with a single book loaded on it, and you can't access it, the flash drive it all on it, but you can plug in a pair. It's got for an earphone plug. You can play it in and listen to the book. You can take it with you, and you check it out at the library, keep it for 2 weeks, listen to the book, and turn it back in. Well, we bought 1,200 of them, and in actually a little less than a year, we've had 9,000 checkouts of those Playaways. So it's sort of a different technology, and that's the only reason I bring that up. It's a little, it's something we tested with. But the device is where I'm leading here with. The device is key. And so the handheld device is where all this content has to get delivered at some point, or a version of it. And so it's critical for the library and for this Google initiative, I think, to understand the Austin Go project. And to think about even, you mentioned, Chip, the
Open Austin.
Open Austin, which is having their social right now, or meeting actually as we speak. I think it's tonight, to get together to bring some of that input in the community to help write applications or whatever with data that they access from hopefully the library and everybody else. So, well, everywhere you go, Austin and the library are at your fingertips, and that's where we want to head. We aren't there yet. But that device is coming. So again, we're still talking devices. So I'm going to switch now. Social networking and rich media delivery could make Austin's history a living archive. So if you think about these large pipes everywhere, and the Austin History Center full of archives of if we can get all that information digitized, and you can have real-time interactivity, even with local content. In this case, this is a picture of, I believe, our Windsor Park Library during the snowstorm. Everybody enjoyed it. It's something you remember. So why couldn't that almost happen instantly, where somebody takes that picture, they send it up, but it's interactive. People start tagging on it, but while we could probably do that today, whenever you start throwing videos and large images and things, all the instantaneous aspect is what the big gig will do for us, because people can instantly switch from one image to another or whatever, and they can communicate on it in real time. And then applications can start using that real time sequence to actually start producing different apps. And what that will be, we don't know. So what if, I love this picture, what if everybody could get content from their library just like that? All of Austin's creativity and content was accessible everywhere. South by Southwest coming up, and that's really, there's a creative aspect in Austin. So that content, why couldn't you, just like that snowstorm picture, which is not a large image, very small. So you could probably still sort of do that today, but start thinking a little bigger. Think South by Southwest. You got live bands, live music, and everything, and that content being streamed and captured instantly, and people sharing it everywhere is instantly because the pipes are big enough to do it, and they're commenting on it, they're tagging it, they're posting it to Facebook, it's going live. So everything just ramps up at that point. What if we provided a media-rich civic centers for citizen involvement? You know, I don't know where this place is. We welcome everybody every day into our libraries, but you can start getting creative with media presentations and interaction of peoples, whatever those peoples want to interact about. They can congregate, and with rich media around them, again, it's instantaneous that they can all participate. What if together we created a people's university? The library likes to train people. So education can receive a huge boost from this, because on a screen that size, you will still be able to stream beautiful images of people as trainers or whatever, and the interaction will be, there won't be any of this, you know, it'll be a clear picture because the pipes are large enough. So, you know, I don't know what that would look like, but Brenda Branch, the library director, may not want to turn us into a school, but the capability is there. I mean, if the pipes are there and everything, you can. But the Austin Public Library, so what if Austin, if everybody at the library had a device like this and was connected and could live that rich environment? So in closing, I just like to say that I think from the library's point of view, we are about content. We need to improve the way we deliver that content, and this is a natural fit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner?
Do you feel that it would be possible to digitize a lot of the resources, say, in the central library, so they would be instantly accessible at the branch libraries?
Well, you do have. It depends on the type of content you're talking about. You have copyright issues if you start copying, you know, books and things like that. But I can see a time where there is content that is, it's virtual content. So you check it out, and it doesn't matter where you are when you check it out, and you don't have to have the physical book in hand.
And it seems like if people were able to digitally access it, they had, you know, maybe transportation issues of getting down to Central, then they could either go from home and access it or to their branch library.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I think it would be probably better if you considered the Austin History Center, where we have unique things in Austin that are probably not affected by copyright, and to be able to
Yes.
share those rather than.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff over
Rest of the
there.
stuff.
I mean, it's an incredible place. If you haven't visited the Austin History Center, I encourage you to do so.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Linda Latowski, Executive Director from Channel Austin. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you all for having me speak tonight. I feel very good sitting here at this table, and especially following Joe, because I'll just pick up the thread of where you left off. Channel Austin is Austin's own community media center, and we always use the term public access community television, and in fact, in this case, it's very true. We're looking at the video and film process itself and the ability with this 1 gig pipe to share huge files of video in a matter of minutes instead of hours. The film industry would benefit tremendously in all 3 phases of production, from pre-production, which is the planning and organizing, the ability to have video teleconferencing at a whim with a really clear picture, and also through the production process when film is generally either flown or couriered to out of state, but the rushes could be sent, the dailies could be sent immediately. And then again, in post-production, when you can have this giant kind of network that has shared sources and everyone can work together. At Channel Austin, we consider all of the folks who walk through the doors to be citizen journalists. When they have a camera in their hands, they're going out and telling a story about their community. Just imagine if that we had the ability for all of these folks, between 3 and 1,200 people throughout this community, to bring back, to send stories over this huge pipe back to one central place where it could be immediately switched and given to the community. We have a tremendous opportunity with this, with our hyper-local content, but we're also looking at social media instances. And just a week ago Saturday, they had this video camp, ATX, and it was really surrounding social media, and they are bringing video into their context too. So when you look at this, and it's been mentioned before, that is another opportunity that will even expand more and more the content. What I found today is someone called me and needed a digital file. This person is a person with a disability, was trying to get something uploaded to the internet, but couldn't do so with the sources. So now we're going to burn a DVD, and we're going to send that DVD in a week or so over to this person. They're going to then FedEx it to someone in another place, and they're going to post it on the website. And these videos, the real intention are for people with disabilities to be able to go onto the internet and take the training that is available. So just to test this is a real pain. With this kind of thing, with this pipe, this network, this huge amount of fast space, we would be able to do tremendous things just in that sense. When we spoke a little bit earlier, Chip mentioned, or Rondella, that we were going to go around with these little flip cameras at South by Southwest Interactive and ask people what's going on. We can literally put that on our computer as a QuickTime movie and upload it to YouTube in a matter of seconds. So this is just a little bit of what's happening. But we're also talking about reducing our carbon footprint. Most of the folks that use this community media center have to drive to the facility in East Austin to provide their content. This way it can be provided from home. Most anything can be accessed through the internet if we had this kind of situation. And in terms of file sharing and anything else that we wanted to do. We recently did a project worldwide where we all made short little clips about our community media center, and I just think about how we can do that locally and very, very easily. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was the iYouth, the youth in our community. Unfortunately, our iYouth Media Director is here tonight, and she has signed up to speak, but I do have a very short video that she put together for you. This is from the kids from Gus Garcia Middle School's after-school program, as well as the kids that are in her homeschooling claymation class. They were asked what they would do if they had really fast internet, and this is the video that they made for y'all. And there's sound.
Austin's kids are creative, tech-savvy, inspired, innovative, goofy, and ready.
And I also use the internet to learn a lot of things because it has a lot of enrichment that you can learn about.
You can look up good things like how to cook stuff.
It can take you anywhere you want.
Yeah, see, I play chess. I can talk to my friends and all that. Get on MySpace. Look up maps to different places, get on cool games. You can do all kinds of fun stuff.
Like here in Austin, you wait a minute before the internet comes on, and sometimes we don't have time enough for that in class to just wait for the internet to pop up. So if we have supervised internet, we can get our assignments done. Kids' grades will be much better, and that's what we need here in Austin.
Put them on the fast track to the careers of their dreams.
Yeah, the future should have more biodegradable materials, or else we're going to end up in a toxic waste stuff and die.
And we will not become superheroes either.
Name like a robotic avatar for Mars or something.
I want to start my own rocket scientist business.
Carry around a little jump drive, USB thing. Keep all your work on there, just come into class, it'll just be nothing computers, just plug it in there. It will be the new future. We wouldn't need books and pencils anymore.
GM already provides a database and such for hospitals, but this would make it a lot faster and with more information.
Our movies about the person uses the iPad and it can take them anywhere they want. They just search where they want and then they go to that place.
It's very cool. Very cool. Very.
Google, our future is bright. Choose Austin for ultra high-speed broadband. The future is here.
I do have two more very quick points I'd love to make. One is that we are facing the demise of our institutional network, which has served us tremendously well over these years. But as we go to a statewide video permit system with our cable and video providers, starting in 2011, we will no longer have access to iNet, which enables Thunderboom TV from McCallum High School to go live every Thursday on our channels. With a pipe like this, we would be able to. And we are fortunate this year to bring the Austin Music Awards from South by Southwest live because of Time Warner and the city's help in getting the iNet. And we won't be able to do that once that goes away. But with this pipe, then that kind of programming and content is available not only from schools and public libraries, government buildings, and other community centers, but it becomes a live force in this pipeline. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. The only question I have is, how can people access and view that video?
We will
get
post it on our website, and we're also going to put it on the YouTube. We'll cut it up in little pieces. She's got a lot more interviews. She just kind of chunked that together for y'all.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you so much. And thanks so much for Channel Austin's support of Big Gig Austin. The stuff y'all are doing to show Austin at its best is great. And our next speaker in this panel is Tamara Hudgens, the Executive Director of Girl Start. Welcome.
Thank you. I want to firstly say thank you for the opportunity of providing just a few remarks on behalf of Girl Start. We're an organization whose mission is directly related to this issue, since we have conducted educational programs in STEM for girls since 1997. Girl Start views the opportunity for innovation, and that was one of the kind of general questions that I was asked to put together today, in relationship to access. When more individuals have tools with which they can create, they then have the opportunity to create vastly more things. It's just math. Girls, for example, in one of our programs last year worked on a corporate internship that resulted in the development of a mobile application idea that would or might, for example, identify open parking spaces in the city. Without access to tools and subsequent training, we cannot create new things. In our community, we have a huge wealth of technology and creative talent, as well as corporate entities that make Austin the unique and wonderful place that it is. At the same time, we are all aware of challenges that our neighbors experience. This project would lift up families and children who otherwise would not have access to this resource. But the outcomes of that resource are still, and for me this is actually very exciting, speculative. We could, for example, see community groups authoring the culture of their lives by developing technology tools that are relevant for them, that use their voice and their talent rather than simply having or using apps that are available to them. We could, for example, see groups of learners taking an active role in their scholarship by working across networks to accomplish projects, or to take an active role in creating new educational environments using Squeak or other open source authoring tools. We could also see groups of people coming together to build new collaborative networks that may result in new enterprises, or groups of children coming together to collaborate. Access will increase engagement, and because this will doubtless result in new developments, there is also your moment of innovation. Owing to the nature of innovation, I cannot tell you what that looks like because I do not have a crystal ball. I can guess that these tools would do something to increase parity among neighbors in Austin, and that's a good thing. I can also guess that it would increase commerce and economic opportunity, and that's also a good thing. Obviously, teaching, learning, these are other things that we all care about. It would also build up the periphery in the region, as you mentioned earlier. We have a very decisive drop-off point where life stops being Austin and it suddenly becomes rural, and that presents some problems. I think that a general acceptance of the big gig would foster a spirit of competition in the region as well that would be good for bringing the collar counties up a little. Rural broadband is a big opportunity that is simple to solve, but some reason it hasn't been dealt with. And Texas has a lot of rural, and the success of this project would improve Texas's information infrastructure as well, nimbly and efficiently too, because you don't need to build roads in order to build networks. Bringing more voices into this dialogue shapes the culture and well-being of our times. Because we have a rich and diverse community, the limiting or elimination of these voices is a lost opportunity. What we can say is that this potential resource in the big gig would, of course, increase access, which in itself creates opportunity. But we can also say is something like this. As we move increasingly digital, especially with our teaching and learning, we need to ensure consistent and robust access to the net. And for teaching organizations and learners, however old you are or not alike, learning should not stop when we leave whatever door or physical plant that we are at. Learning and collaborating needs to be possible everywhere, and this new opportunity would make those basic building blocks possible. Girl Start's absolutely invested in this because girls who would benefit from our programs could continue their learning elsewhere. But girls who aren't in our programs would have access to other online resources, and that's important to us also. Their parents would become familiar with STEM, families, and community members as well. I also did a little bit of thinking about the case, that is why Austin is a really good fit for Google, and I think that all of our colleagues here, and you have mentioned very important moments for that. I will simply close and say that Girl Start is absolutely committed to participating in whatever capacity we have in order to support this project. If it means putting an antenna on our new building, we would be happy to do that. Hosting whatever community events, we'd be happy to do that as well, because when also community-based organizations, and Girl Start is one of a huge host of orgs like Channel Austin, Austin Film Society, and others, when we all work together to kind of make this network happen, then it can also be successful. So we think that Austin would be a great leader in this relay race. You guys have really made the case for why we would be a great fit here in this community. And so whatever Girl Start can do to help advance that, we're more than ready to do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any questions, commissioners?
Thanks for those great words. Of course, access to technology is one of our core missions on this commission. And one thing we need to keep in mind is the city is already investing significant money through GTOPS programs in organizations like Girl Start.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be a feather in our cap in our application, is the way we already do these investments. We can leverage Google's investment as well to increase access issues. I think it's a great thing.
Absolutely,
Thanks.
it is.
Commissioner White?
I had just a general comment, and it's not directed to any of your presentations, but I wanted to hear from the panel, how does healthcare may fit within this particular realm? You hear about telemedicine, and if we're able to have doctors to be on site and have nurses to be able to utilize these pipes to where we could really have social impacts to seniors, as well as, look at the amount of money we spend in healthcare. I just was curious to get your thoughts on how healthcare could also be a benefactor in these huge pipes and being able to reach patients in their homes and places of that nature.
I recently had a son that had an MRI, and they had to give it to me on a DVD to take it to another doctor. So he could have shipped it to him instantly almost.
So that could certainly be a median where we could probably, from a community perspective, how that could be included. And I don't know if that's something that's a value add to our proposal in terms of how Austin could kind of go outside of the social piece and bring the healthcare in perspective.
I have a point. I know I run a youth organization, but also senior populations in particular can benefit in a health way from access to social media as well as medical-like or informal networks. I worked on a project in another community that was directly related to improving the lives of Alzheimer's patients, and Alzheimer's patients in particular, because they are isolated to a certain degree, and that promotes, unfortunately, in a negative way, their degradation mentally. If they are able to communicate with other members of the community, say, for example, their doctor, a caregiver, a buddy, what have you, that also promotes their mental and general health well-being. I think that that's, firstly true for Alzheimer's patients, but it can also be for senior populations as well.
I have a suggestion to staff. We've got a great set of panelists here. There are some sectors we have not covered. One of them is healthcare. So maybe staff would like to reach out to a person or two in the community in that sector and have some phone calls, just because that's a good point. That is an area that speaks to it. Another sector that I'd like to identify that isn't represented here tonight is gaming. And it's not because we didn't try, it's because there is a huge conference going on the West Coast right now, and everybody in town is out there right now. So I know staff has been connecting with the gaming community as well. But it'd be good to reach out to healthcare too.
And you're
And we are.
Thank you.
and the folks that were at Austin Connects that had a lot to do with the medical and the healthcare industry, they would be great. When we did Austin Connects.
And let the record show staff is giving the thumbs up. Any further questions for this panel, commissioners? Thank you all so much. Your comments were really helpful, and I look forward to seeing them being incorporated into our response to Google. We've got one more set of speakers. Did Joe Strebhauer make it? Okay, so our final speakers will be Dan Stanzione and Ed Hennigan. Folks, would you like to come on up to the table here? And we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, looking at some of the more technical applications. Dr. Dan Stanzione is the Deputy Director of the Texas Advanced Computing Center at the University of Texas at Austin. What do you think?
Thanks, Chip, and thank you, commissioners, for inviting me to come and give sort of the UT perspective on some of this. So I think my colleagues have laid out a lot of the broad case of why this much more rapid broadband access would be important. So let me just try and relate a couple of brief points to UT's mission and how it would be further enabled by what's going on or what could happen with this network. So the first point, if you look at the rise of the internet in the 90s, which by the way, was accompanied by one of the greatest periods of wealth creation in human history when that happened. A large part of the reason that happened is we went from sort of delivering information from a purely broadcast network to delivering information through an interactive network. But if you look at even the way we use the internet now, 20 years later, it's still largely a almost one-way interaction where video is now streamed regularly down to a user at the home, but the uplink is mouse clicks or text, or perhaps if you're sophisticated, you use a Skype connection to send a little bit of grainy video back up the pipe. If you think about this much faster connection where essentially on the home side, you have the same ability and bandwidth that the providers have on the other end of connection that are streaming things to you. In fact, both of those sides at the home would be greatly raised. You see all sorts of possibilities in the realm of education and distance delivery of education, as my colleague from the library mentioned a few minutes ago. Whereas you can do a single one-on-one video connection and get a little bit of interaction that way now, that's not at all the same experience as being in a classroom and interacting with other students. What you need is, one, the move from, just as we move from regular TV to HDTV, and you get sort of a quantitative lift in what the experience is like and your ability to see the facial expressions and interactions of people on the other end. You need that not only with the instructor, but you need it with the other students to find out if everyone else is confused as you are at the middle of the class, perhaps. So, but to really understand the sort of subtle parts of reaction from the crowd that we just heard that you wouldn't catch over a one-way broadcast connection, that you would catch over a richly sort of interactive connection. So to move to a true video type interaction from a text-based interaction would have a great lift, we think, for the education side. I think the second aspect of this that's really truly important is looking at the fact that we're an increasingly data-driven society, and part of the rise of the information age is we have so much data. In fact, if you looked at the cover of The Economist last week, the headline was "The Data Deluge," talking about how, from an enterprise perspective, corporations that used to deal with small amounts of data now regularly deal with petabytes of data. Looking at the transactions, thousands of terabytes, thousands of trillions of bytes of data, just a truly huge amount. And if you look at the research mission of the university, we also deal with vast amounts of data, and in scientific computing, we've done that for a long time, particularly in what I do at the Advanced Computing Center. And what we've seen is we have a huge mismatch between the speeds of our ability to generate these vast data sets and matching the network speed to that we can deliver to where the end users are, at a house or a small business where people might want to consume that data. If you think about the supercomputing capacity that we have now at UT, if you ran on Ranger, our largest supercomputer, and you applied all of its ability to generate data for a single day from that machine, and you stored that data with us, if you wanted to bring that data to your house, you modeled, let's pick a problem. The problem we talked about today was looking at emissions of ozone into the air in the Houston area and how much of that moves into the air in Austin. It's the kind of thing we might typically computationally model and visualize and take a look at. If we put all of the power of Ranger on that problem for a day and built a giant data set of that, the maximum capacity for one day, over a current broadband connection, it would take you about, just back of the envelope calculation I did standing in the back of the room, about 27 years to get that down through a normal broadband connection to your house. So if you were doing a weather forecast, the 27-year lag to move that data to your house would make it less than useful, perhaps. If you look at raising this to a gigabyte, that's actually still not enough for the amount of data we can generate. It's going to take you from 27 years to a couple of months, realistically, to move that same amount of data. But because we understand that, the way we've mitigated the fact that we have to move these huge data sets is we do visualizations of them. And so what we're starting to move to our users, to the consumers of these models about how the world works, is streaming video or animations, essentially. We could show you the plume of ozone moving from Houston into Austin. And that requires a high bandwidth connection. And this kind of connection would allow us to do essentially real-time delivery of those kind of data products. So whether you're modeling the quality of the air or using large databases to understand the behavior of consumers or understanding how teenagers interact on social networks, which also now involves massive amounts of data mining to understand these things, having this kind of network can really revolutionize the way we interact with our students, with our researchers, people who want to consume these models in their homes. So I think from both the education and the research mission, we could make serious and pretty revolutionary changes in the way that people interact with the university. I just add to Commissioner White's point on healthcare. You look at healthcare, and it's increasingly an informatics-driven business. The old method of diagnosis of many problems was you sort of have a conversation with the patient, and you've seen other patients like that patient before, and perhaps you select a drug. I think what we increasingly see and will increasingly see is personalized medicine delivered based on your personal genetic profile, the gene expression, the amount of proteins and other transcription factors in your bloodstream. In this more interactive world, you could easily imagine, we've seen the cost of doing a sequence of the human genome and the time go from millions of dollars in many years to, I think we're pushing $1,000 in an hour at this point. And the $10 genome run is not that far away. That's been about a 10-year fall from millions to 1,000. So you could easily envision a world where you had a device, it pricks your finger, analyzes the protein factors in your blood, perhaps does some gene expression profiling, and takes what would be a very large data set about your, sort of the personal state of your health, and sends that to a physician to make decisions about your treatment on, whether it's from provider to provider, doctor's office to doctor's office, or from the home to the doctor's office. The ability to do data-driven medicine is something that this would enable.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner?
Is TAC's main focus information visualization?
TAC's main focus is simulation, primarily. So, large-scale scientific computing. In our visualization arm, which we've sort of developed as the need to understand the huge amount of data we've done, we focus primarily on scientific visualization. We've more recently ramped up information visualization, as that's becoming more important at the university as the social sciences and the arts and other disciplines move into looking at large amounts of data. So we've sort of gotten away from doing just visualizing the airplane wing and the flow around it, which is sort of a traditional scientific visualization problem of the type we've been doing for 20 years, to also looking at how people in large organizations interact via the internet and things like that, the more information visualization type problems.
Do you feel that this kind of pipeline would give students and perhaps, general public researchers more access to the projects and abilities at TAC that they might not if either they go in person or even researching at the library at UT, for example, and they can't make the drive up to TAC? Do you feel like that would be a connection that makes it less physical for people to be at TAC?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, most of the users we have at TAC, interact with us virtually now, but there's a tremendous advantage to being able to sit in your office on a first-tier campus to do that, or in our visualization lab that has dedicated fiber that connects at high-speed TAC to the main campus. So there's, places where, if you're in your office in a new building with a modern internet connection that is of the speeds we're talking about here, then you can access these kinds of resources and data. But if you're sitting on your laptop, in a dorm room or in a place where the network is not to a gigabit yet, there's a real, quantitative and qualitative drop-off in what that interaction is like and how fast you can move the data. So yes, I think it would make, everyone's house and every business in Austin have the same kind of access that you would if you were sitting in a, in a modern research lab at a first-tier university.
I was asking about the type of projects to see if, if you had any other examples, like you were saying about the pollution map, like any big projects going on at TAC that would be of interest to students or maybe the general public that just wouldn't have access to now.
Sure. There's a wide range, and, a couple popped into my head. One that we're starting is in, flash flood prediction, which actually involves both, network speed up, and this is just something in the planning stages. Probably shouldn't say too terribly much about it, but, there are rain gauge and water level sensors all over the state and around the city that you need to collect information from to drive a model to predict about where to flood. You need to reach our computational resources to make the prediction about how the rain that's falling is going to affect the flood channels, and then there's a serious need to get that information out quickly in a visualization or in a warning over the network. And so that's the kind of thing that this sort of truly interactive two-way network could enable.
Well, and I think that's actually, you just said kind of a click for me. It's not, with like a resource with TAC, it's not just you getting information out to the public, but it's the information that we can provide to you to get that visualization done. That's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
Further questions, commissioners? Okay. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ed Hennigan. Ed is the Chief Technical Officer for Data Foundry. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. This is going to be tough to follow up. That was an amazing discussion there about all these cool things that we're doing. I've got a couple of angles that I'd like to talk about tonight. The angle that's closest to my heart is there's a layer here that we haven't been talking about that sort of, everybody kind of takes for granted, and that's okay with me. But the layer is this service provider layer. Right now, everybody kind of takes their internet connection at home for granted, but it's provided by a company, most likely either AT&T or Time Warner Cable. It's going to be 90% or more of the broadband connections in Austin. And these companies exist running their own networks to residences, and they provide access to the internet. And everything that we're talking about, you're going through these networks to do any of these magical things on the internet that we're talking about today. And we're sort of complacent with these two options that we have in front of us. We kind of see them as, well, this guy's got this bundle and that guy's got that bundle, flip a coin. Maybe I'll take, his is advertised faster, so I'll take that, and that's good enough. It didn't used to be that way. We started Texas.net as a dial-up ISP in 1994 in San Antonio, Texas. We pretty soon brought it up to Austin. And when we came to Austin, I have a BoardWatch directory of internet service providers from 1997, and it lists like 45 ISPs in Austin in that time. And, we're listed as having a T3 connection, and this is like an amazing thing at the time. For a bunch of modems, that's, wow. So what happened was all of Texas.net, all of these other ISPs that we were competing against in Austin and in other places, the competition proved pretty interesting because with all these different providers, people had real choice, real variety, a real diversity of providers they could choose from. So we all provided different approaches to technical support, to the quality of service, to the features that came bundled with it, Usenet access or website hosting, or when new things were coming out in technology, the more innovative ISPs could bundle them and include them or promote them or market them, and the other ones maybe didn't or had a different angle on them. And we've lost all that. We don't have that today. You've got big giant mega corporation number one or big giant mega corporation number two, and you kind of you eat the dog food that you have. I have this vision, this dream that we're going to get back to a competitive internet service provider landscape, and these things that we take for granted are no longer taken for granted, and you have these choices that you don't have today. When you have very few choices, it's hard to imagine what a lot of choices looks like. I mean, if you're living in Russia and you can buy jelly, okay, well, that's what jelly tastes like, and that's what it looks like. And then you go to Central Market down here in South Austin, and you go to the jelly section, and you see what the options are for jelly. It's really hard to imagine what it could be like if we had a true diversity of option for the internet service providers. When broadband started coming, the technology started coming out to be able to provide broadband to homes and offices via cable and via DSL, we quickly saw that we competed on a level playing field with modems. When we started, we were one of the first ones, and then AT&T, or actually SBC at the time, pretty soon came out with their own modem ISP service. Additionally, I remember San Antonio Express News came out providing internet service, and all of our friends were saying, "Oh, you guys are going to go out of business. I mean, you can't compete with SBNC. You can't compete with San Antonio Express News. They're going to have all this free advertising. They're going to tell everybody, and everybody's going to switch to them." And none of that happened. We beat SBC. We beat San Antonio Express News in these markets. And what that means is that we provided a better service, a more valuable service to these customers that they don't know that they're not getting today, because that is not an option today. So I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but in the late 90s, when DSL and cable options came out, FCC mandated open access, and we petitioned to be part of that, and we set up some DSL service, and we tried to integrate with the Time Warner Cable network, and we were totally priced out of it. I mean, it was impossible for us to compete. So us and all of these other rich diversity of internet service providers, we pulled out of the market. I mean, we still run Texas.net modem ISP. You can go to www.texas.net and sign up today for a 56K connection. I don't think you will, but you could.
Can I just say that I have a Texas.net email address
Well,
since '97, so
kudos.
please don't get rid of it, because I love that email address.
We've had suggestions to get rid of it, and we will not do that.
Oh,
And
thank
in
you for. I actually held my breath right in the middle of that sentence.
That's not going to happen. And in fact, we are here today. Chip gave us a call and said, we're looking for some support here. And the reason I'm here today is, as Texas.net, and we've launched a business side data foundry. We are here today to say that if we had the open access Google broadband network in Austin, we would be thrilled to be a competitive ISP using this network to provide another option to customers in town. And we would have no problem with other ISPs. We still have friends and acquaintances from back in the day, Zilker.net, BGA, all these guys. People may recognize some of the names here. If they came out kind of, these embers that are kind of hidden in the fire, you fan them and the flames will come back. And I'd have no problem competing against those guys today. That would be great. So that's my big point. That's why I'm here. Another point that I'd like to make that I'm not really one thing that I think we need to get our heads around is that the modern internet is not just about, well, if your car is broken down, how are you going to go and get something from the library, or how are you going to go do something with your doctor, or how do you make connections when your normal means of making connections isn't functioning right. What the internet is doing is it's changing the default, and it's changing our default assumptions about how we connect with each other. And instead of even thinking about going to the car, what happens is you're sitting in your underwear at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday eating your second bowl of cereal because you've been on the computer all day and you just haven't gotten up to go somewhere. And you're clicking and surfing, and your dad emails you his lab blood results, and you go searching, well, what do these numbers mean? And then you stumble across some visualization of a data set that tells you how to interpret the genome, and you never leave your computer, and you're interacting with all these things. So the big thing about having these always-on broadband connections is the incredibly low friction that it provides for interacting with such a variety of data sources and people and methods and knowledge. And every step up in the broadband capacity reduces the latency of these interactions. So every interaction that you have takes less time, and you end up exploring and connecting and doing more than you ever thought that you would. I mean, the big thing to remember, Google did some experiments on their homepage where they added a little bit of a delay, about 0.1 of a second of a delay, or maybe 0.2 of a second of a delay in how fast their search results loaded. And what they found was on the order of like 25%, or it was some huge number of people just left, just went somewhere else. And if you think about going from a 10 megabit cable modem service to a gigabit fiber service, and how that's going to change the latency of all of your interactions, of everything you do all the time, and you add up all this time. We have these awesome computers, and we live in the IT society, and think about how much time you spend waiting. You pick up your phone or you do something on your computer, and okay, now I'm going to wait. You can do a lot, but there's so much more you could do, and there's so much more seamlessly that you can do these things, that it doesn't just change, it doesn't just open up new opportunities for doing things. It fundamentally changes how you think about doing things. And you don't think about, well, how am I going to get over that hurdle? You just think, well, what do I want to access? And then you go access it. And I think that Austin is particularly well suited for embracing that concept. I think we're already halfway there with our broadband penetration. You said 80% broadband penetration in Travis County. I think that's a clear sign that if we had more, we would take advantage of it. So that's my second point. Thank you.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner White?
How does that 80% correspond to some of our competitors who are also trying to, I guess, lure Google to their particular state?
I really don't know.
I didn't know if you would or not. I just was curious about that, because if we have the infrastructure that gives us a leg up against the competition, I didn't know that could certainly be a consideration for us, big savings of money and things of that nature.
I think 80% is a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't know exactly who our competitors are, and I imagine they're probably the
Every
other
other
high
city
tech
in
cities.
America.
Yeah, I'm sure we're much higher than perhaps St. Louis, but Portland might be the competitor.
I was just letting Chip know that Mashable released an article, I guess about 5 o'clock, about some of the top competitors right now. Okay. So he's going to look into it, but I don't remember seeing any statistics. It's more of the gimmicky stuff that they're doing to stay ahead and kind of where their numbers are with their Facebook groups. But as far as statistics like that, I think that Austin's a little bit ahead in knowing those numbers and sharing those numbers, as I hadn't seen them earlier. But it was on Mashable earlier today.
Yeah, the Mashable article looks mostly like a roundup of stunts, which I don't think we need to participate in. We have a compelling enough story without doing something crazy. And also to address Commissioner White's point, Google has been saying that they're very possibly looking to move into multiple communities, and if they do, they would probably try to pick a diverse range of communities. So it's not like high broadband penetration is good or bad. It's like, what do you bring to the RFI, and how does it match up against their goals? Further questions for Ed? Let me ask you a question, but first let me thank you for really your bold statements in embracing this. Assuming that Google has the motivation and the wherewithal to really embrace what they're saying would be an open network and bring competitive ISPs onto the network, in the current economic environment, how difficult would it be for a local ISP to get the capital they would need for the equipment they would need to get onto this sort of network?
Well, first of all, we are sufficiently capitalized that I don't think that would be any sort of problem for us. Secondly, by far the most expensive part of a network like this is the part that Google wants to shoulder. It's getting the fiber out. Nowadays, a gigabit Ethernet connection for your basic networking gear to connect these together is almost trivially cheap. In the networks that it takes to, in the connectivity to bring these networks together, the hardware itself is very, very inexpensive. So I don't really see that as being an issue.
Okay, and one of the points that Google has made repeatedly, that one of their criteria is speed. How quickly can they get into a community and deploy? So it sounds to me, if they did embrace an open network, that local ISPs such as you might be prepared to move quickly and
Yes.
work with that.
Well, and part of it is that we are still running an ISP as with the Texas.net ISP. So we have the infrastructure, we have the billing systems, the customer support systems. We still have tech support staff. If you call our phone number, you're still going to get somebody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's true.
So I mean, we're still alive and we're still doing it. And I mean, it'd be a dream come true. This is what we've been hoping to do for a long time. And primarily regulatory forces have prevented this kind of thing from happening. And having somebody who's got, the 800-pound gorilla coming in and beating people up is exactly what we need.
Great. Other questions, commissioners? Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been really helpful, and I think our panelists have really helped us accomplish some of the goals we had set out for tonight and get some good ideas. And I presume we have some public speakers. Okay, before we do, I would like to give the commissioners an opportunity to make any statements, go on the record, should they choose on this.
Just a quick comment. I think it's quite impressive in just a few weeks what you and the city and other community volunteers have been able to put together. So on behalf of myself, and I assume the rest of the commission, we'd like to thank everybody for their leadership on this issue. And, I think we're sitting pretty well. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other cities competing, but I think we'll put out a very competitive application. So.
Okay, if there are no other, then let's go to the public comments. I'm showing we have 3 people signed up. Our first speaker is Slow Pokey. Mr. Pokey, are you here? I think he may have stepped out. Our next speaker is Charlotte Jackson. Yes, please. Thank you for staying through that. You have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, it was really worth the effort to come down here. I'm really grateful to all of you, presenters and commissioners, and Rondella, for sharing what you know so that I could have more confidence in our community, our community's response to Google's initiative. I think it's really marvelous. When I first saw the announcement, I immediately started writing up the form that they had provided. And I thought that I could come back to it and add some more. And when I looked for it recently, I couldn't find it anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, I have a start, so I can work on it with the website, I guess, right? You have that form. Well, I don't think I have anything to add because it has been sufficiently covered here. And I just want to express my gratitude for all your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, you are a TV producer, are you not? So you would also be a person that might use a network such as this for video?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Lee Webster. Welcome, Ms. Webster.
Hi.
And you were involved with that video we saw earlier?
I
today?
am, yes. I
That was
was.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. The kids primarily made it. They shot it. They conducted the interviews. They did the animations. And they're really excited about this. So I just wanted to express a little bit about that. I'm the youth media director at Channel Austin, our community media center and television station. We heard from Lynn Lataski, our director, earlier. Our iYouth Media Institute has trained over 300 kids in this past year, giving them the skills they need to produce their own movies, TV shows, news programs, animations, music videos, and they've all been aired, and I spend a lot of time uploading them to our video hosting service. We are located in the heart of East Austin, and by design and in practice, our programs reach underserved youth, giving them the means to make their voices heard and bridge the digital divide. My dream is that with a high-speed broadband network in our city, we can start a streaming web channel for kids and by kids, where youth would be able to upload and share video directly from their home or school, changing them from media viewers to media makers. Austin students are already out there making incredible work. What we lack is a streamlined way to share and distribute what they create. We at the iYouth Media Institute know that one of the most valuable outcomes of a video project is the confidence and affirmation that kids get when they share their work with their peers locally, nationally, and globally. Austin's kids are prepped and ready for an opportunity like this. They're creative and they love their city. Austin is already known as a center for technology. It's essential that we keep our city on the cutting edge of innovation and grow our creative and technological capacity as our kids grow into the media makers of tomorrow. As you saw in the video, Austin's youth have boundless energy and creativity, and I guarantee you that this unprecedented opportunity for high-speed internet at the home, school, library, or community media center like ours will be put to use by the youth in our community in incredible ways we can't even imagine yet. So Austin's youth are bright, driven, and ready to show the world what they can do. They're going to put this to use in ways that are going to be kind of outshine anything I can imagine so far. So, yeah.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Taylor Perkins. Welcome, Mr. Perkins.
How are you guys? I'm Taylor Perkins. I'm the president of Rare Media here in Austin. I became aware of the program earlier today. I just wanted to come down here and voice my support of the idea that we might be a city that could host this incredible network. I think we're very technologically advanced. I think that seeing as many businesses starting in Austin over the last few months that we've seen, not to mention the fact that we've been rated the #1 city for small businesses to start and the #1 city for U.S. economic growth, all of these things come together to make this a perfect seed city and startup city for this program. So I just wanted to come in here and voice my support and put Rare behind it and put myself behind it and say, if you guys ever need anything, let us know how we can help as citizens of the city.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wished to speak on this issue? Any comments, commissioners? Okay, is there a motion to close our public forum? Okay, motion is made. Our public forum is closed. Thank you, everybody, for attending and participating. This, I think, has been a really super help. We've got some great additional data that I hope the city will be able to incorporate in its response.